Good morning. Welcome to Conversations Here and Now. My name is Naresh, and I'm looking at the Ford government's decision to appeal the Superior Court decision on the Toronto bike lanes. The article is from CTV News, written by Cody Wilson. So basically, the article says that the group behind a successful charter challenge that barred the province from removing bike lanes in Toronto downtown core have received notice that the Ontario government is appealing last month's Superior Court ruling. Cyclists, the advocacy group that brought forward the challenge, said the notice of appeal was served on Thursday. So they got that notice on that day. So according to the executive director of Cycle Toronto, the charter exists to protect the rights of all Canadians, regardless of the whims of this or any government. We urge Premier Ford to respect the rule of law and the decision of the judiciary. And this is from Michael Longfield, the executive director of Cycle Toronto, that statement that's posted on the group's website. So basically, last month, Ontario Superior Court Justice Paul Shabazz found that the Ford government's plan to rip up bike lanes along Bloor Street, Yonge Street, and University Avenue was a violation of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So I want everybody to remember that. That's his ruling, that it's a violation of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And basically, to really cut down on the ruling, the summary of it is, the judge said, the applicants have established that removal of the target bike lanes will put people at increased risk of harm and death, which engages the right to life and security of the person, Shabazz wrote in his decision, Judge Shabazz. The evidence is clear that restoring a lane of motor vehicle traffic where it will involve the removal of the protected or separated nature of the target bike lanes will create a greater risk to cyclists and other users of the road. The article goes on to say the Ford government passed legislation last year to remove sections of bike lanes along the three major downtown roadways in an effort to reduce gridlock in the city. And I've mentioned what those were: Bloor Street, Yonge Street, and University Avenue. And everybody knows how busy those streets are for cars. Thus, the safety of the bicyclists is of paramount importance in that on those streets. In the decision, Judge Shabazz said that the evidence presented to the province from experts showed that removing bike lanes won't achieve the asserted goal of the law. The province previously indicated that they plan to appeal the decision, and speaking to an unrelated news conference earlier this month, Premier Doug Ford called the ruling ridiculous. Premier Ford went on to say that, quote, "I have never seen a decision like this, that a judge overrules the people of Ontario because of ideology, not because of law, ideology. But we know when they picked this judge where it was going anyway, so it's not a big surprise," close quote. And he told this to reporters on August 6th. So in the notice of appeal, which is posted on Cyclists' website, the province contends that the court, so this is from the province contends that the court, quote, disregarded, close quote, its evidence demonstrating that, quote, travel times increased after the installation of the target bike lanes, close quote. The province argued that the court preferred unqualified opinion evidence that removing the target bike lanes would not improve congestion generally. Dakota Brazier, a spokesperson for the Ontario Ministry of Transportation, confirmed that the appeal had been served, going on further to say, quote, "We were elected by the people of Ontario with a clear mandate to restore lanes of traffic and move bike lanes off the major roads to secondary roads to get drivers moving. We are delivering on that mandate, and we have served our appeal to the court." And then, quote, "Again, we will also continue with design work necessary to begin removals of bike lanes and get some of the busiest roads moving as soon as possible." So basically what I'm trying to say here is that Premier Ford, first of all, is not recognizing the fact that Judge Shabazz has clearly said that, people who are riding bikes on those streets, Bloor, Yonge, and University, are riding the bikes in a very busy environment. Okay, we all, if you've traveled to Toronto and you've traveled to those streets, and I have, it is a really busy environment. Bicyclists have as much right to be on the road as do cars, and bicyclists have a right to ride those roads in safety. And this is exactly what the judge has said. Two things that the judge has pointed out: that removing the bike lanes won't reduce congestion, okay, and it will worsen safety. Okay, so really, so what is the reasoning behind Premier Ford's? What could be the reasoning behind Premier Ford to remove those bike lanes? It's to basically play up to the drivers, the car drivers. I have pointed this out before. Premier Ford, I should say, panders to the groups that love driving. His building of new Highway 413 that's coming, his wanting to build tunnels under the 401 that are coming, show that he does not necessarily look at the alternate routes to cut down on traffic. Whether it's transit or people wanting to ride bikes, other modes of traffic, he focuses mostly on roads, highways, in order to try and reduce traffic. Now, no matter what you say, people will still ride their bikes. You can't stop people from riding bikes, because people who live downtown, these are not people who are coming from 40, 50 kilometers away mostly. These are people who live downtown. Okay, they can take their bike and go to work. So let's say we look at 10 bicyclists. They take their bikes, they live downtown, they take their bikes and ride the bikes to their work. Now, if these 10 people were to jump in their cars and take the cars to work, does that increase car traffic? Yes, it does. So is it lowering the amount of car traffic on the roadway? No, it is not. So is it lowering congestion? No, it's not. So all the people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that use bikes right now, using the bike lanes, if they were to jump into cars and start driving to go to work, is it going to reduce congestion? Obviously not. Okay, so a lot of these people will still keep using bikes. So what happens if there's no bike lanes? Okay, so that their safety is absolutely going to be looked at. So what are the benefits of having bike lanes? What are the benefits of having people riding their bikes? Okay, so people who ride their bikes make it easier for transportation and traffic flow, more efficient road use. Bikes take up much less space than cars, meaning more people can move through the city with same amount of road. If you, again, as I've just said, if you pile on cars, if these people stop using bikes, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of people, and they all start using cars, obviously the congestion is going to get worse. So bikes reduce congestion. Shifting some commuters from cars to bikes frees up road capacity and reduces gridlock. That's a given, okay? Connectivity. Dedicated lanes create a safer and more reliable network, encouraging cyclists as a regular mode of transport. Public transit relief. More people cycling short trips frees up buses and subways for long-distance riders. So it takes congestion off the road because there's not that many cars on the road, and it takes some congestion from public transit, right? So it's a win-win. So that's transportation and traffic flow. Number 2 is safety. Protected space. Bike lanes separate cyclists from cars, reducing collisions and dooring accidents. And those happen a lot. These bike lanes protect bike riders. Predictable traffic flow. Drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians each have designated spaces, lowering conflict points, encouraging new riders. People see people riding their bike in the summer, and they're encouraged to go out and buy a bike and use the bike lanes. Take another car off the road. So people who feel unsafe mixing cars with bikes are more likely to use it if there's lanes for bikes. Environmental benefits, that's number 3. Lower emissions. More cycling means fewer cars, reducing greenhouse gases and improving air quality. Noise reduction. Bikes are nearly silent compared to cars and trucks. Climate action supports Toronto's climate goals of net zero by 2040. Point number 4, health and well-being. Active transportation. Biking builds exercise into daily life, reducing risks of heart disease, obesity, and stress. It's 100% true. Mental health, physical activity, plus avoiding long car commutes improves overall well-being. And cleaner air, reduced traffic emissions, lower respiratory illnesses like asthma. Okay, so if you get in your car, you just drive to work, and then you get in your car again, drive home, what exercise are you getting? None. Then you go home and sit and watch TV. So at least this way, people tend to get a little bit of exercise, right? And I think it's really good exercise. Economic benefits, boosts local businesses. Cyclists are more likely than drivers to stop and shop at small stores, cafes, and restaurants. Lower infrastructure costs. Bike lanes are far cheaper to build and maintain than new roads or subway lines. Reduced healthcare costs. More active citizens equals lower long-term strain on healthcare. Tourism, a well-connected cycling network makes Toronto more attractive to visitors. You have economic benefits. Now, number 6 is urban quality of life. More vibrant streets. Bike lanes encourage foot traffic and outdoor activity, making downtown feel safer and more lively. Better use of space. Fewer cars means more room for patios, trees, parks, and community spaces. Equity in mobility. Not everyone, this is an important point, not everyone can afford a car. Bike lanes provide affordable, reliable transport for more residents. So in short, bike lanes in downtown Toronto make the city safer, healthier, greener, and more economically vibrant while helping to manage traffic congestion and meet climate goals. So, this idea that Doug Ford always pushes out that, this is for the drivers, this is not democratic. How is this not democratic? How? Somebody point to me, how is this not democratic? Maybe you can put it in my comments afterwards. How is it not? I think it's not democratic if you don't provide the space for bicyclists. They have every right to be on that road, and they have every right to expect safety. They have every right for the city to look after these bike riders. They have every right to expect from the province safety when they ride on these roads. So he should be just as concerned about the safety of everybody who's riding bikes, because as I've pointed out already, there is huge benefits to people riding the bikes. And just taking out a couple of bike lanes does not move cars faster. It will not move cars faster. What it does do is, of course, less people will ride bikes, a lot less, because then you're concerned about getting hit by a car because it's not a bike lane anymore. So if less people are using bikes, then more of them are using cars. So guess what, Doug? You've got more cars on the road now. So how are you making congestion any less? And you need the bike lanes for some of the couriers that travel around downtown. You can't be having a car traveling around downtown, stopping at every second building to make their deliveries a lot of times. A lot of times couriers use bikes because they're smaller deliveries, smaller packages, food deliveries, etc. You can't be using cars. If all delivery people started using cars, again, downtown, these main important streets would get jammed. So I don't think Premier Ford is looking at the overall picture. And then he, attacks the judges because they're ruling as far as ideology. A judge doesn't rule by, then you start talking like Donald Trump. That's exactly the same arguments that Donald Trump uses right now when he attacks judges. I'm not going to go too much into that, but you can see what's happening down south with that. So Doug Ford is picking up and using the exact same language of attacking judges because they are, as he says, using ideology to make decisions. These are independent judges, Doug. They're using the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms as their guide to make these decisions. They're not elected judges who may have ideology. These are independent judges that were appointed by the province, that were appointed federally. Okay, so it's wrong for Premier Ford to attack judges. So basically, it becomes, if a decision goes in Premier Ford's direction, then he's happy. If the same judge had made the decision towards favoring the province, then he'd be delighted. That he has made the decision favoring Cycle TO for the bike lanes, then he's pissed off. As I've said, I've pointed out this out before. It is wrong for Premier Ford to attack judges. It is wrong for Premier Ford to say this is not democratic. Of course it's democratic. Bike riders have absolute expectation of the same treatment, equal treatment as car drivers. So I'm hoping, but he has appealed it, so the province has appealed it, so the Attorney General filed a notice of appeal to the Ontario Court of Appeals to overturn Justice Shabaz's decision. Let's see what happens. Premier Ford has also said in the past he may consider using the notwithstanding clause. Doug Ford is saying that he will use the notwithstanding clause to override that decision. Is that democratic? No, it's not. Mostly the notwithstanding clause is used by the federal government in extreme cases. It shouldn't be used by provinces, but that's for a different topic. That's a different topic for a different day. And on top of that, Premier Ford is wasting taxpayers' money. Okay, he's wasting taxpayers' money in these court cases. He's wasting taxpayers' money to rip out these bike lanes. So that money could be put to better use at a time when it's very much needed. So I think I pointed out my side of it, saying that bike lanes should and absolutely need to stay. You cannot rip out the bike lanes in this day and age when so many people use bikes. These are main areas where there's heavy car traffic and heavy bike use now. So they have to stay for people's safety. A car collision between a car and a bike obviously is going to result in the bike rider being hurt. But the car gets damaged too, just as well. So nobody wins in that at all. Everybody wins, as I pointed out with reasons, when you have bike lanes. So that's my take on bike lanes. If you agree with me, please put some comments in the comments. If you disagree with me, please also put what you think in the comments. Do you think bike lanes should stay? Do you think bike lanes should go? What do you think? Please put it in comments. And if you like what I said, tell me. Hit your like button, hit your subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and share it with your friends. You got friends who live downtown, that ride bikes. Please share it with them. Okay? Thank you very much for listening to me, and we'll talk again next time. Thank you.